there is still, in 2019, no car that can compete with the Model S of 2012. It's 7 years later. Still waiting. Next year, we'll expand the product line with Model Y and Semi, and we expect to have the first operating robotaxis next year with no one in them next year. It's always difficult to, like, when things are on an exponential, at an exponential rate of improvement, it's very difficult to kind of wrap one's mind around it because we're used to extrapolating on a linear basis. But when you've got massive amounts of like, as the hardware, massive amounts of hardware on the road, the cumulative data is increasing exponentially. The software is getting better at an exponential rate. I feel very confident predicting autonomous robotaxis for Tesla next year. Not in all jurisdictions because we won't have regulatory approval everywhere, but I'm confident we will have at least regulatory approval somewhere literally next year. So any customer will be able to add or remove their car to the Tesla network. So we expect this to operate is sort of like a combination of maybe the Uber and Airbnb model. So if you own the car, you can add or subtract it to the Tesla network, and Tesla would take 25 or 30% of the revenue. And then in places where there aren't enough people sharing their cars, we would just have dedicated Tesla vehicles. So when you use the car, we'll show you our ride-sharing app. So you'll be able to summon the car from the parking lot, get in, and go for a drive. It's really simple. So you just take the same Tesla app that you currently have, we'll just update the app and add a summon Tesla or commit your car to the fleet. So it's either summon your car or summon a Tesla or add or subtract your car to the fleet. You'll be able to do that from your phone. Like typically the use of a car is about 10 to 12 hours a week. So most people will drive 1.5 to 2 hours a day, typically 10 to 12 hours a week of total driving. But if you have a car that can operate autonomously, then most likely you'd have that car operate for a third of the week or longer. So there are 168 hours in a week, so probably you've got something on the order of 55 to 60 hours a week of operation, maybe a bit longer. So the fundamental utility of a vehicle increases by a factor of 5. So you can look at this from a macroeconomic standpoint and say just, if this was like if we were operating some big simulation, if you could upgrade your simulation to increase the utility of cars by a factor of 5, that would be a massive increase in the economic efficiency of the simulation, just gigantic. So we'll do Model 3, S3 and X as taxis, but we made an important change to our leases. So if you lease a Model 3, you don't have the option of buying it at the end of the lease. We want them back. If you buy the car, you can keep it, but if you lease it, you have to give it back. And as I said, in any locations where there's not enough supply for sharing, Tesla will just make its own cars and add them to the network in that place. So the current cost of Model 3 robotaxi is less than $38,000. We expect that number to improve over time. And we're designing the cars. The cars currently being built are all designed for 1 million miles of operation. So the drive units are designed and tested and validated for 1 million miles of operation. The current battery pack is about maybe 300 to 500,000 miles. The new battery pack that's probably going into production next year is designed explicitly for 1 million miles of operation. The entire vehicle, battery pack inclusive, is designed to operate for 1 million miles with minimal maintenance. So we'll actually be adjusting tire design and really optimizing the car for a hyper-efficient robotaxi. And at some point, you won't need steering wheels or pedals, and we'll just delete those. So as as these things become less and less important, we'll just delete parts. Just they won't be there. If you say like probably 2 years from now, we make a car that has no steering wheels and pedals. And if we need to accelerate that time, we can always just delete parts, easy. Yeah, probably, say long term, 3 years, robotaxis with eliminated parts, maybe it ends up being $25,000 or less. And there's just really no company that has the full stack integration. We've got the vehicle design and manufacturing, we've got the computer hardware in-house, we've got the in-house software development and AI, and we've got by far the biggest fleet. It's extremely difficult, not impossible perhaps, but extremely difficult to catch up when Tesla has 100 times more miles per day than everyone else combined. This is the cost of running a gasoline car, or the average cost of running a car in the US. This adds up to $2 trillion a year. These are literally just taken from the AAA website. The cost of ride sharing is, according to Uber and Lyft, is $2 to $3 a mile. The cost to run a robotaxi, we think, less than 18 cents a mile. And dropping. Like this would be current. This is current cost. Future costs will be lower. If you say, what would be the probable gross profit from a single robotaxi? We think probably something on the order of $30,000 per year. And this assumes that 50% of the miles driven are not useful. So this is only at 50% utility. From our standpoint, if you fast forward a year, just maybe a year and 3 months, but next year for sure, we will have over 1 million robotaxis on the road. The fleet wakes up with an over-the-air update. That's all it takes. You say, what is net present value of a robotaxi? Probably on the order of a couple $100,000. So buying a Model 3 is a good deal. Any questions? Well, I mean,